Hello everyone and welcome to The Why Teacher. Today I'm here to present to you a program that I designed for my middle schoolers. It's called the Critical Question Program. The Critical Question Program is based on the Bloom's taxonomy of thinking. So I'm going to call in my assistant, Mr. Zain, to come and help me explain the concept to you.
Hi guys.
So Zain is new to the whole program and he has some questions. And so, shall we start with the questions, Zain?
So what is critical thinking?
So critical thinking is something that is a complex process. It's not as complex when you actually try to explain it with colors. So for children, if you ask them to think critically, they really need to know what you mean by that. And so as a teacher, I thought if I could convert the thinking into different colors, maybe it would help children understand their thinking patterns better. So shall we explain one color each at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is red?
Okay, so the Bloom's taxonomy is in a pyramid shape, and on the base you have the concept of remembering. So before you begin thinking, you first have to know what you're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
So if you read a story, then you want to know who is the character in the story, where were they living, what was the setting like, and there are small details that your brain has to know before they can build on to analyzing characters or wanting to understand what's happening in the story, okay? So without knowing or remembering the details in the story, you can't really think critically, right?
Yeah.
So remembering is the base.
Okay. And what is the green?
Now, when we talk about the green is after you know who the main character is in the story, and then the character does some action in the first chapter of the story, let's say, and I ask you whether you've understood why they did that action, then you are able to give me an answer, sharing an example from real life and being able to connect to that situation by giving me an example, by being able to apply your understanding of that thing to another example is what understanding and application is all about. So above remembering, we have understanding and applying your understanding of what you read. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So your blue looks kind of nice, but I don't understand it.
Okay. The blue is about analyzing and evaluating.
Okay.
This is a complex thinking level, right?
Yes.
So there are two characters in your story, and those two characters behave very differently, and you're trying to figure out why they're behaving that way. So you begin to analyze their character, you begin to analyze their actions, you want to know why they're doing certain things. So when you are comparing and contrasting two characters, when you're trying to understand why something is happening, so when you use verbs like analyze, justify, then that's when you're trying to analyze and evaluate a situation in a story. And that thinking level requires you to remember the details,
And
understand and know where else can this be applied, and then further on analyze the situation by breaking it up into different kinds of, using different kinds of reading strategies there. Okay?
Yeah, so what is this color?
This is what we want all our children to do these days. We want them to be creative. So this is the creativity level. So understand that in the Bloom's taxonomy, you don't think like 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're creating something, you might need all of this, right? So we're not saying that this is the best and this is not important. This is the most important because that's where your information comes in.
Yeah, everything is important.
Everything is connected here, right?
Yeah.
So creativity is the highest level of thinking where you're able to create something out of your own imagination and creativity.
Yeah, I think that's something I don't have.
I think you do have a lot. And we can find out.
Yeah,
Right?
let's find out.
Okay. So I have created, Zain, for you a little box, and parents can create a little box for their children, right? When you're doing a reading lesson with your child, or if you're just even creating a kind of a platform in your house where you want to just reward them with these peas, making them more aware of whether they just understood something and applied it like very logically in their lives, or they remembered a detail that you gave them, and based on that detail they were able to analyze the situation. You can always keep adding peas to their boxes and making them more aware of their thinking abilities. Okay, an ideal box, Zen, would have more of one color, or what would an ideal thinking box look like? How many colors would you like to have in your box?
All.
Why?
Because it helps you remember what skills you have to improve or keep on moving on.
Yeah, and also the fact that thinking is a complete process, right?
Yeah.
Can you do without any one of these?
No.
No, you can't, because they're all connected, and that's why any box that indicates only one kind of a color, it means that that child needs to be challenged a little more, because they're missing out on certain thinking skills, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if you don't have all the colors.
Absolutely. So, or it might mean that I, as a parent or teacher, am only giving you one kind of thinking activity.
Yeah.
I need to give diverse activities so that you can try out different things, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to try? Do you want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, wait, I think these have to be in like color order, you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't really matter, right?
It matters a lot to me.
Well, eventually you will understand that red is for remembering, green is for understanding and applying, blue is for analyzing and evaluating, and yellow is for creativity.
Alright.
Okay, so let's open up our brain. It's time to start thinking. So will you help me open up my peas? So I'm opening up all the thinking peas now. And Zain is ready to win some thinking points now. Are you ready, Zain?
Yeah.
We're going to read a very nice story here. It's called The Sisters' Mind Connection. And Zain, as we read, I'm going to ask you different questions which are going to challenge different thinking skills of yours. And let's see if Zain can win any peas or not.
Reading a dog's mind is easy. They mostly think about food and cats and fetching balls and rolling on the grass. Reading a human's mind is more difficult. They think about work and are tense, especially adults. Michelle is very special, gentle and kind, but she cannot express how she feels by talking because she has a double diagnosis, autism and Down syndrome. Michelle's parents cannot find an appropriate school for her. Michelle is Clara's big sister. They live in Mexico City.
All right. So I'm going to ask some questions. Where did Michelle and her sister live?
In Mexico City.
They lived in Mexico City. Zen remembered a detail from the story. Zen, which P do you think you've just won?
The red one.
The red one, because Zen remembered a detail from the story. So his brain does work. He is able to think. Here, Zen, you won yourself a red pea. Put that into your box.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay? Now,
Bet y'all to beat my 1P.
really, Zen, that's just for remembering. Now I'm going to ask you another question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Zain, tell me, why do you think the author, who's actually a child, who's written this story, compares a dog's mind to a human mind?
Because a dog's mind is very easy to understand because all they think about is like food and rolling over in grass. But a human's mind is actually much more difficult. It requires more skill to understand them because you have to always analyze them and then see what they're doing.
So, all right, let me ask you a little more about this because that's an important point, right? So if you were to give me an example from your life, if you've ever been with a dog or a cat or an animal, how do you think they're different from human beings?
They have no idea what they're doing.
Is that so? Do you believe that?
Every cat I've seen just runs around. And they look for food most of the time and then, yeah, that's
So do they follow like a set pattern?
kind of, yeah.
But isn't that what human beings do as well? They're always looking for food, especially you.
So then that's like something in common.
Okay, that's something in common. So what did you just do?
I inferenced. No. I compared the dog's or animal's mindset towards a human.
So what skill did you just use?
The understanding.
Did you just understand? You were comparing and contrasting two different minds.
Oh,
right?
analyze.
You just analyzed and evaluated a cat's mind to a human mind, and you were trying to make how they are different and how they are, and you found a similarity, right? So you definitely deserve a thinking P, which is about analyzing and evaluating. Congratulations, Zain!
Yeah, beat my 2 P's now.
Okay, Zain. I have one more question for you. Then it says here that reading a dog's mind is really easy because all they think about is food and fetching and rolling on the grass. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
How come you don't have a pet?
Okay, so basically, remember, we went to Lahore and we were in this park and there was this stray dog.
Okay.
And every time, like, there was a stick, and every time I threw that stick, the dog would just go get it and then come back. He used to fetch it and come back. So then, like, after he did it like 10 times, I just
Seriously?
yeah. And then I realized that that's like all he wanted to do. That was all in his mind.
So you do believe that that's what dogs and cats want to do?
Yeah,
Just want to play
yeah.
all day long. I know a dog who wants to do that as well.
The one that's sitting next to you.
Okay, so Zain, you just gave me a really nice example. So do you think that there is a thinking level here that goes with that?
Understanding and applying.
How is that?
Or maybe like, oh yeah, understanding is like, you're like thinking back and then you're like applying it in like your real life of an example.
Okay, so when you read something in the story, you were able, it reminded you of a situation, similar situation where you went to Lahore and you had the same kind of experience, right? So you're able to apply your understanding to what you've just read. So I think that deserves a green P. Congratulations!
Yeah.
Now, Zain, I'm gonna ask you another question, which is a little more kind of requires you to engage your imagination, okay? So it says here that Michelle's parents cannot find an appropriate school for Michelle because, of course, she's special needs. So if you were Michelle's parent, how would you solve this problem, Zain?
Maybe first like home teach them,
Okay.
and then maybe they can maybe once they're like trained, and then once they're trained how to keep control of their diagnosis, maybe they can like start like going out in like society and like start meeting people.
Fantastic. It's a pretty cool, creative solution by Zain. So which color P do you think we should give to Zain?
Yellow.
The yellow one. Fantastic, Zain. I'm very proud of you. And here's your yellow P. And how many colors does Zain have in his box now? Can you show us your box, Zain?
Right now I have all of the colors.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask Zain a quick question. Zain, what did you have for lunch?
I had me some peas with rice and chicken.
Good boy. Good boy. You remembered. Yeah. Do you think you can analyze Zaina's cooking for me?
It's very delicious when it comes to like the shorbas or
Okay.
and like the chicken's nice and like nahari and
Right, so as you could see, the Critical Question program is designed to help children, become more aware of their thinking. And often we as teachers or parents ask our children to be more critical, we ask them to analyze things better, we ask them to evaluate. We use all of these verbs that are heavy for children unless and until we break these down into different steps or processes children are not going to understand thinking any better. So this was my attempt at trying to translate thinking into colors so that they're able to understand their thinking process better. So every time Zain is going to look into that box, and if he's going to find more of a color, he's going to start identifying with his thinking processing. He's good at analysis, or he might know that today he attempted something that was very creative, or he's very good at understanding and applying things to in real life. So best of luck with your children. I hope the program helps you. I'll give you more examples on critical thinking using the program in the coming episodes. So from me right now, bye bye.